So you use organic cabbage, no pesticides, fungicides, GMOs, so it doesn't mess with your brain. And first we do is we clean it up. We slice this part off, and then we take off the exterior leaves, leaving them for compost or snacks. And we need a little piece like this to cover the sauerkraut. And at this point we wash it, make sure it's cold water. Now we take the core out. The core has a tendency of being a bit bitter and very hard to chew on. So there we go. This we might need to keep. Cut out the core. Also makes for a good dog snack. Here we go. Lovely. And this one. Out like so. Okay, we quarter the cabbage. If you're not that confident with a knife, you probably should use a cutting board. Okay, now we take a very simple $5 mandolin, if you don't have fancy equipment, and as we leave, and we grate it as fine as we can. And this takes a couple of minutes, but it's worth it. Now, preferably, you should actually do everything in a glass bowl or glass pot or container, so it doesn't react, but I'm gonna do it very quick and keep my fingers. Leave these on the side and just keep grating away. Now, I know you're not sheeple, but try to keep your fingers out of the way, or else you have a nice short manicure. Here you're working out your biceps, triceps, rotator cuff, and so on. Okay, this we need to cover it. 2 more quarters. Looking good? Almost over. Call me when it's over. Okay, we can always use these cabbage leftovers for a nice veggie soup. Or a nice Chinese stir fry with a nice organic USA brewed soy sauce. Okay, one more. Now this one we need. There we go. Rock and roll. Now we need a really clean jar, sterilized, for sauerkraut, so there's no foreign bacteria, if you wish. So you rinse it like so, wash it, rinse it. Make sure it's nice hot water. Close it up. Shake it. Spill the water. And then you want to go a step further by sterilizing it with boiling water. Now if you're using the jar for the first time and you don't want it to crack on you, you stick a stainless steel spoon to distribute the heat and take some of it away from the jar. You pour the boiling water right on the spoon. You take the spoon out now. Close it. Shake it gently. Open it, spill it, and now you have a perfectly clean, sterilized jar. In order to make this basic sauerkraut, you take the shredded organic white cabbage and with a clean dry hand you put some salt. This is a Utah mined salt. It looks a little pink. It's very lovely. And how much salt do you use? I don't use a formula. I just use enough to make it slightly salty to taste. If you use more, you're going to have a more sour sauerkraut. Some people don't use any. So I just take a little bit, like so, and then massage it into the shredded cabbage. And make it your relaxing yoga moment for the day. You shouldn't rush with your whole life, especially the good parts. As you could see, the cabbage is beginning to let the juices out. And you keep, if you will, massaging it until it feels nice and wet and soft. Making sure that a little bit of salt reaches each sliver of the cabbage. There you can see that the juice is coming out. One key part with the sauerkraut is that if everything is under the brine, it's going to be fine. So you need to have enough moisture for the brine to cover your cabbage when it's in the jar. Okay, now you take your clean, sterile jar and stuff it with the sauerkraut mix. Gently pushing it down. Now you don't have to fill it up. You can make as much as you need. Another important part is that you need to leave some room in the jar for the juices fermenting and coming out of the sauerkraut. As you could see, the sauerkraut, there's a certain amount of juice, so you don't want it to overflow. That's why you leave some space above. Okay. Make sure that you clean the sides of the inside. Okay. Now, if you're making it in a crock pot or other large container, you could use a wooden or a stone pusher to get this done. Now you need to cover it with a piece of cabbage. So there's a nice seal, and the sauerkraut could peacefully ferment. Okay, so we're going to use some of these leftover cabbage leaves. We have a nice amount of brine. I will say this part takes the longest. We have one more part here. Now, as I said, if it's under the brine, it's gonna be fine. That's your key message here. Yeah, we'll do the cleaning later. We have. And in order to push this down, I'm using a leftover bottle, glass bottle, from a lemonade I had. And what I do is I fill it up with water so it's pretty heavy, and I might weight this down in a nice way. Push all this stuff under. Okay, take all the little pieces off. And there it goes, ready for fermenting. Now when it's all under the brine and you have an object like this glass water-filled jar, making sure that the brine is above the cabbage, you cover it with an organic baggie or a towel. That's organic cotton, no pesticides, no GMOs. This particular one I bought in the bulk food department. It's used to store organic rice or something, beans. So I cover it and I put it in a dark place, and for a few first days, especially when you're in a cold climate, you put it in a warm place so the sauerkraut has a chance to ferment. And what I do is I put it next to the stove where I'm doing a lot of cooking. When you're in a warmer climate, like Florida, Virginia, you just keep it anywhere. After 3-4 days, you taste the juice, you taste the sauerkraut, and if it's nice and sour, you can just take out this weight, close it, and store it in a refrigerator. If it's not sour enough, you put the bag back and you keep it outside until it's sour enough. When you taste the sauerkraut, it's nice and sour, ready for you to use it. You take out this weight, you don't need it anymore. You gently close it, but don't tighten it because you need to let the fermentation gases escape. So if you close it tight, stick it in the fridge, don't be surprised that it might go poof, and in order to release the gases. So just nice and light, gentle, like so. Store it in a fridge until you eat it all.